a great tradition that I love, and that is that we open in prayer. And the former pastor and Nampa citizen, Dustin Yankovic, is here, Rock Church of the Christian Missionary Alliance, right? Right. Thank you so much for opening us in prayer. Thank you.
Good evening. Pray for us. Father, we just come before you. Father, I thank you for these men and women who serve our community so faithfully, Lord. And Jesus, I lift them up. I pray you'd encourage them and give them wisdom this evening. And Father, I pray for our city. God, the city in which I live, Lord, the city that our family has grown to love and have so many connections here. God, I pray that you would be with the citizens of Nampa. I pray that you would be with our community. Jesus, I pray that we would be a light on a hill. God, I pray that we would be a beacon into the darkness. I pray, Father, that people would look to Nampa and say, what are they doing? What are they doing that is going so well, and what can we do? How can we be like them? Father, I thank you for the leadership of these men and women that are here tonight, and I pray, God, that you would give them wisdom, give them guidance and discernment, Lord. I pray that they would be able to see all of the issues clearly. I pray that you would give them foresight to understand the ramifications of their decisions, Lord. God, I pray that they would know with a level of certainty, and as they step out in faith in the decisions that they make as to what the impact will be, not only in the next weeks, months, God, but years to come. I pray, Father, that you would help them to lead with integrity. Jesus, I pray that they would not be swayed by opinions of others and all of this stuff, but Lord, that they would choose to do what is right because it is the right thing to do. I pray for unity, Lord. I pray that they would have a oneness of spirit. I pray, Lord, that they would have friendships and relationships, God, that would extend beyond this room. Father, we know that as they are united, Lord, it is good for all of us. Jesus, I pray that you would be with them. I pray you'd encourage them. I pray, Father, again for our city, that we would be a beacon for you, a light on a hill. We ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
The pledge. Let's stand for the pledge, please. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for being here this evening.
Yeah, appreciate the invite.
Yeah, good to see you again. Thank you.
Likewise.
Okay, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Jingula.
Here.
Bills.
Here.
Reynolds.
Here.
Haverfield.
Here.
Griffin.
Here.
All present.
I am not aware of any proposed amendments to the agenda, other than I am going to move one thing forward a little bit. But our council, do you have any proposed amendments to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I would stand for a motion to adopt the agenda as is.
I'll move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda. I would stand for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll move. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so tonight we do not have any agency or commission reports or staff communications. Before we adjourn into executive session, I would like to have Chief Huff come. I think you have an introduction that you'd like to make tonight. I do. Or this afternoon, I should say.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So I just wanted to take an opportunity tonight. Last year when we did our budget presentation, you guys approved a new lieutenant position for the police department. Happy to report that we went through the testing process. We selected Angel Calderon as our new lieutenant. I thought it was important that he came down and met you guys face to face and explained a little bit about what his new assignment's going to be and his history with Nampa Police Department, and then also to introduce his family tonight. So with that, I want to turn over to Lieutenant Calderon.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Angel Calderon, and I've been with the Nampa Police Department for it'll be 20 years come October 3. It goes by quick. I'll make this really quick too, because I know it's Cinco de Mayo, and there's probably a margarita out there somewhere with your name on it. As the newly appointed lieutenant, I'll be over several units, which are very challenging to go down the list, but it's violent crimes, SVC, SED, and SOG. So a lot of these are very involved. So it'll be challenging, but I think we'll be okay. I'd also like to take a moment to thank my family who has shown up here, and my 2 daughters who keep me humble by calling me Ohio Riz at times. I'm not sure what that means, but it cannot be good. So I'd like to thank the city and our administration for having the confidence in me to take on this role. It's not been an easy progression. Law enforcement has a lot of challenges, and I like to think that I've met those challenges and am ready to step into the role. I don't know everything, but I'm a quick learner, and I think I've demonstrated that in the past. I think I started my career when Vic was a detective there. So
And I taught you everything you know, right?
He's taught me everything we know. So I look forward to the challenges, and thank you guys for having the confidence in me and our administration to do the job we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to tell us, I know you're working on your education still, you're continuing. Tell us about what you're doing.
I'm currently I'm maybe 4 or 5 classes away from receiving my master's at the University of Idaho at the MPA program. So we're almost there. It's been a long journey, but we're getting there.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I have to say, I said in a briefing that Lieutenant Calderon was leading some time ago, and I was extremely impressed by the work you did and how you communicated with the team and what you were getting done. And I know the chief has spoken very highly of you. And thank you for stepping up. I know it's not an easy position. You've been here for quite a while. Thank you for your commitment, your perseverance, and your willingness to step up into a leadership role and continuing to educate yourself and grow.
Yep.
That is impressive.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I have a couple comments. So, first of all, Angel and I get along great because he likes ketchup and sour cream on his tacos, like any true Hispanic person should.
What?
Ketchup.
What? Oh, let's hear it from the white guy, huh?
He gives me a lot of grief about that. He's like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but
I think he should.
but on a serious note, the night shift guys, Team 7 specifically, they love this guy, and he has been such a great leader for those guys and shown through example time and time again. And I think it's exciting that you got promoted.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
Councilman. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mayor.
Yes.
Yes, not only when you put the uniform on, it's a whole different world for our officers, but better, it's a whole different world for the families as well. And so Angel started this back 20 years ago, and he's developed into a good police officer and a better administrator. And I just want to thank you for all what you've done for our community.
Thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Well, congratulations, and here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Take care. Thank you. We are going to adjourn into an executive session, so with apologies for those of you waiting, it's going to be just a little bit, but I would stand for a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74206(1)D and F.
Mayor, before
Yes.
we do, I just want to say congratulations to Councilman Griffin and his wife Macy
Yes.
for having their baby boy since they were last here.
I am so sorry, I forgot to mention that. Natalie,
Yeah.
thank
You're
you
welcome.
for doing that. That's pretty cool. Would you like to say something?
Healthy boy. I think the congratulations goes to my wife. I didn't do much of the work, so I'm sure she's watching online, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's awesome. Okay, so I would again stand for a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74206(1)D and F.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes?
Chingula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
We will be back. Thank you all.
Shoot.
Okay, sorry that we're waiting. Thank you guys for waiting. I do apologize that we're running now late. We are going to step into, wow, I'd like to save our new business items till later, but we do have 6-1 that may have someone present, so we'll go ahead and, we're going to step into new business item 6-1. The other ones we will push back until later. So 6-1 is an action item. This is a new alcohol license, the Warehouse Nightclub at 1020 First Street South for on-premise beer, wine, and liquor by the drink. I'd like to ask legal and/or Shar and Rodney, are there any comments as we get started on this one that we need to be aware of? On this one, okay?
Just a reminder that the conditional use permit has been approved for that location.
Okay. So council, the information regarding this one is in your packet, and I would like to ask if there's any discussion or comment from council before there is a motion.
Madam Mayor, when the time
Yes.
is right, I would like to make a motion.
Okay? Yes.
Could we get a clarification, Rodney? The CUP that was approved was
Yeah.
for the establishment of the business?
That's correct, the land use.
And so can you clarify what the establishment is?
It's a nightclub. So this happened right before the change of the code to where you restricted the alcohol licenses for liquor to only restaurants. And they came in at the direction of the city. They came in and applied for the license right before that happened, right before that ordinance was adopted. And it's taken them a long time to get their county and state license approved, which then those are precursors to the city's license being approved. Again, this is Shar's area, but the conditional use permit had already been approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission for that nightclub there.
And that's under 1 year?
So
CUP is good for a year, is that right?
the conditional use permits are typically good for 6 months if they haven't applied for any permits or license in that time frame. But because they applied for that license, it locked it into place. And their building permits, excuse me. And they submitted for building permits too. And I think over the last year, I think you saw that in my letter, over the last year they've been updating that building to comply with the building code.
So they're still in compliance with the CUP?
They still are because they submitted that building permit.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Are there any other questions? Yes?
Again, they're not planning on having any food sales still, is that correct? That was the one thing when I was listening to you talk is I know that we now have a reservation for all those liquor licenses for restaurants that have food, not just alcohol only, but I think you've stated that it was prior to that taking place. Unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Councilman Reynolds.
Madam Mayor, I move to deny the new alcohol license for the Warehouse Nightclub. Under Nampa City Code 5-12-11.b, this applicant was subject, as part of its application for a new license, to the requirement of showing that no less than 60% of gross sales from the preceding 12-month operation of a licensed restaurant be derived from food services.
Second.
The grandfather clause in that section of code is only for those licenses for liquor by the drink, which were in effect as of August 9th, 2024. Seeing this license has not yet been issued by the city, the applicant is subject to the restaurant requirement. Therefore, code requires us to deny this.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Clarification again, Mayor. That was August 9th that we moved towards the food ordinance change to administer liquor licenses on the 9th?
I need Shar or Rodney to answer that date. What was the date?
Madam Mayor, if that is stated in code, I believe it says August 9th.
When was the application taken and paid?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Griffin, let me just look into the packet because that application is there. It was received on August 6th. No, excuse me, August 8th.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, we received an application at that time, but then the application, it is now, right, May, which is months later. What has transpired in that time frame? Why did it not come forward at that time?
Madam Mayor, it was not complete. They had submitted it in order to have the application in before the new code went in. Excuse me. My understanding is they just received their state and county license, which is required before they can submit for a city license, which is why they're before the council agenda today, as they have received that.
When did the submissions take place to the state and the county? Is that part of the packet?
I don't know when they were submitted. No, it states when it was, no, it doesn't state when it was issued. I know it was just recent.
Okay. Is there any more discussion, or are there any additional questions?
I should keep my mouth shut on this and just let it go on, but I'm not going to, because I think we have, once again, an ethical issue before us of if an application is received and a change is made thereafter, should we honor the application start date, or should we honor what was decided after the fact? I understand the perspective that it was an incomplete application, but I also know how difficult some of these application processes can be. And that's all I'll give to that. I will be a no.
So Mayor, Shar, the fact that we implemented a change and this process has been going on, and then potentially there's improvements being made to the property, was there ever a notification that the change had been made and there was a date certain requirement to be met?
So, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Bills, they were aware, the ordinance had already been adopted. I'd have to look at the exact date. Do you know, Preston?
The exact date of adoption.
Which is why they came in. I might be able to find that for you if you give me just a minute. But they were already aware. That is why that they submitted when they did.
August 8th.
To meet the deadline.
To meet the deadline. So the ordinance had already been approved.
The ordinance was approved, Madam Mayor and Madam Clerk, on August 5th, 2024. And if I may offer some clarity here as for this discussion, you got to understand that a CUP and a liquor license, though may be connected for a common purpose, are treated distinctly and differently. A CUP is subject to Idaho's Local Land Use Planning Act. That's for a use. If you want to drill it down forward to other uses, such as a liquor license, that's a distinct process that's governed differently. The case law would have the application date locked in for a CUP. However, on the liquor license, it's not subject to the same Land Use Act case law. And the language in our code says that licenses for liquor by the drink, which are in effect as of August 9th, 2024, and that are not connected to a restaurant, may be renewed without being connected to a restaurant. And this pending application for a new liquor license, as you speaks for itself, it is not in effect. It's being presented for initial application. And that is why the key language there is in effect. Though for a common purpose with the CUP, the application date really is not relevant. It's whether the liquor license was in effect that day or not, to have the benefit of not being subject to a restaurant requirement. And as it stands, it would be subject to the liquor, to the restaurant requirement, because it was not in effect as of that specific date.
Madam Mayor, if I could just also clarify something, that we are only talking about the liquor by the drink, which is causing this requirement of the restaurant. If this was a beer or beer and wine license, it would not fall under that requirement.
So to clarify, if I understand correctly, if the alcohol license were denied tonight, they would still be allowed to operate with beer and wine, just no hard alcohol. Is that correct?
That is correct, or they also have the option of being able to comply with the restaurant requirement.
And add food
And
into
add
the...
food.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
So a question then, Councilman Griffin, has that answered your question as far as the ethic or the question of timing or question of what we're doing?
Yes, it does. I have a follow-up question, because then my mind goes back, and it was already said, and I apologize for not solely focusing. When was the CUP application submitted and approved? Or at least approved? I don't need, just one or the other of the numbers.
Mayor, the recorded CUP was issued on July 11th, 2024.
When was the ordinance first read in, and then the final adoption was August 9th? When was the very first ordinance read in? Or the discussion happening and the writing was on the wall?
Mayor and council, a conditional use permit is not an ordinance, it's just a permit. And so it was approved on June 11th, 2024.
I apologize. To clarify, when was the liquor change first announced, that we were making the liquor change, Shar?
Madam Mayor, if I could just be given just a couple of minutes
fine.
to go ahead and search for you.
Mayor, question.
Yes.
Rodney, you had the CUP, the CUP was approved by planning and zoning in June? July. 24?
Correct.
And did that require to come before council or not?
Did not.
Mayor and council, no, a conditional use permit is approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission unless appealed, and it was not appealed.
Okay. And when was the building permit issued to do the improvements?
Don't know the exact date. Give us a minute, maybe we can find that. But it was directly after the license application was submitted for the alcohol license.
So Mayor Rodney, was the CUP for beer and wine only?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Is the CUP for beer and wine only?
The requested, well, the CUP is not, it doesn't distinguish between the two. So what we have is alcohol sales as the primary purpose. So a conditional use permit is only for land use. It doesn't distinguish between hard liquor or just beer and wine. Yeah.
Sebastian, in looking for the answer to your question, I think the answer to your question was, when would they have first been aware that we were making a change in our ordinance so that they got in ahead of the ordinance change?
Yes.
I think that's your question, and
I'm looking for any coverage you can give me so I can sleep tonight.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Griffin, I'm not sure how that was communicated to them. It may have been with planning and zoning staff because they had been working with them in the CUP. I know that
When had we began discussions as council or mayor's office or anybody, when did these first start happening? That we are moving away from liquor by the drink unless it's a restaurant? Ballpark.
Well, I think there was informal conversation in June. I think it got formalized in somewhere in the July and got put on the agenda for discussion for the first meeting in August.
And the publication of that would have been, we've got to look back at a calendar. The 9th, is that the date that we're looking at, that it was effective?
The 9th of August.
I think what we're looking at is, it was on a council agenda prior to that, right? Prior to August 9th, when the application came in, it came in on what day?
the application came in on August 8th. And I believe, Madam Mayor, you're correct. I want to say that we started talking about this when we were talking about the catering permit code changes.
And the actual official code change took place, would that have been at the first council meeting in August, on August 5th?
Yes.
So it was discussed on August 5th that the change was coming, and it was going to be effective on the 9th, is that correct? When we had the ordinance in place?
Right.
And they came in on?
The 8th.
The 8th. Does that answer your question?
It does, and we don't have to belabor this anymore. We can move on. If they put in an application for a CUP and have gone through the process of trying to get this to a functioning business model, was liquor part of that, or was it just alcohol or beer and wine? Is that possible? That's my whole process, is a business owner's going in to try and get the CUP prior to knowing that they aren't going to be have the possibility of getting liquor. I don't know what the discussions or their thought process is. There's no testimony on this. I think I'm going to be one of 5, so I don't need to keep kicking the horse. We can move on.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
My preference would be that they sell food at the same time. But I don't have my microphone on, so I'll say yes.
Griffin.
No.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
5 in favor, 1 against, motion carries.
For clarity, the motion was to deny, and that was approved. So that's the direction we'll go there. Let's go ahead and, Shar, let's go ahead and go to 6.2 real quickly, because this ordinance is very short, correct?
Yes.
This is an action item. This is the first reading of ordinance and approval of publication of ordinance summary expanding the boundaries of the Nampa Municipal Irrigation District of the City of Nampa, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
So moved.
I have to read it.
So she has to read it real quick.
Mayor,
Always jump in ahead of the ready, you know.
We don't usually do them as
Mayor.
new business.
point of order. I was wrong in my motion. My motion was that they did get, or my thought was they did get in under the wire, so I would have voted against the motion for the liquor license.
So your motion, your vote was no, but the total vote was
His motion was to deny.
to deny.
Right, and I lost track of that. I thought the motion was to allow, but not to allow. I'm sorry, I screwed up. I thought that they'd hit the date. It wasn't my preference to have them have an alcohol license without food sales. That would have been my preference. But the spirit of the CUP, everything that they've gone through, I felt was, they need to be.
So you would have voted against the denial?
The same as Sebastian.
Okay. So at this point, we can change it. I believe the vote is 4-2. Is that correct?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, the record so reflects that if that's sufficient for your purposes, that's fine, okay?
That's all that, I just, again, I was thinking wrongly as far as on the dates and what the motion was.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I would just like clarity from legal.
Yeah, and my point is, we can have the record reflect that. The vote would still be 5-1 with this clarification on the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And an ordinance of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, annexing a portion of the underlying irrigation districts into the municipal irrigation district of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, and changing the boundaries thereof, allowing for a summary of this ordinance to be published and directing the city engineer to alter the use and area map accordingly.
It is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 6.3, the discussion surrounding the city's capacity to address new growth is going to be pushed to a future council member meeting. And so I'm not sure the date of that. It could be next council meeting, so just watch the agenda for that. Just so with the public hearing that's waiting, we are running a few minutes late, but we are going to go through the agenda, and so our public forum will be coming up next after this one proclamation that we have. So thank you guys for your patience this evening. So we do have one proclamation, and it is Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Yes, it is. So, you know, the clerk...
Very important.
It is the keeper of the records and keeper of me. Thank you for the work that you do, Shar. So whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, province, county, and international professional organizations. And where it is the most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Kling, Mayor of the City of Nampa, do hereby proclaim May 4th through May 10th in the City of Nampa as Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And we further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerks and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to communities they represent.
Excellent.
We appreciate, yes.
Now, I'd like to suggest that we gather and get a picture with Shaw, because this is clerks, and she cannot step away from a picture.
That's right. And I have it, while we get in, let's all stand up and get ready for the picture. The question is, it's a quiz. How many times do you think I just said professional municipal clerks? That was a lot.
That was a lot.
Here you go.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
David, thank you for suggesting that. We do a photo.
That's so funny.
And Char, we do, thank you. Good job, Char.
Thank you, and it really is my team, too. My team is very good.
But you are the one that keeps us in line here. I appreciate that, but you do have a great team. Thank you. So now we are going to move into our public forum, and we have a few people signed up. We are going to limit the testimony to those signed up. Char, I'll let you get us started.
Madam Mayor, our first speaker is Daniel
Manchek.
Manchek. Thank you.
Pastor Dan. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council, for allowing me to speak. And it's concerning the Pride event in Lakeview Park. And I just,
Excuse me.
wanted to.
Mayor.
Oh, good.
I totally forgot. You need your name and address. I totally forgot.
12741 South Carriage Hill Way, Nampa, Idaho 83686. But I'm the pastor of Good News Community Church located at 1203 7th Street North. And I also own the residence across the street, 1204 7th Street North. And I'm writing this as a concerned citizen, being in the park, being very close to the park, our church, and a personal residence. Having this event on Sunday between 10 and 6 p.m., the organizers are saying that they expect more than 4,000 people again this year. And we have concerns with public safety, protection from indecency and enforcement of that, traffic, parking issues, and the costs associated with the event. And so I just wanted to express that I've counted almost a dozen churches within 1,000 feet radius or 1,000-yard radius of the park. And, our church is literally across the street. And we meet at 9:30, 11:15. We have a 2 p.m. Spanish service and a 6 p.m. skateboard church that would all be impacted and affected by the event that day. Just the issues with traffic. We live in a very polarized country, and even, did my time not start?
Oh, that was me.
Okay. Oh, give a pastor extra time. I have enough for the altar call, I guess. Just concerns. I was there last year. A group from our church had a tent available for prayer and to give out water. And by the grace of God and the Nampa police, there wasn't violence, but that's always a concern with that many people and bringing people in a very polarized area. Many people came from out of state and from out of Canyon County and out of Nampa for this event. And there's just so many concerns with just violence. I remember a few incidences of people, us asking for prayer and swearing back at us, saying indecent things. There was also many times there were between the two different groups, escalation. Luckily, again, by the grace of God and the Nampa police, there wasn't violence and more of that. But it's untenable to have that many people in such a small area. Just in that compact of a time, also affecting other things that are going on there. For instance, the pool is right there in that park, and they're moving the event towards that side of the park. There'll be families coming, the basketball courts. There's so many things. We really love seeing the park being used by families and others, but there are concerns about parking. I know as of last year, people were parking 7-8 blocks away. And even with the indecency laws and what the organizers want to do, there's still 7-8 blocks where they're encountering people, families coming out of church, families coming to the pool, and who's going to enforce that? It's just another enforcement nightmare for the Nampa PD. Parking, even on a normal weekend in the summer is, I know June is not summer yet, but you get the idea. It'll be warm. There's plenty of people out. Parking's an issue. Even now, there's not enough parking spots. And also, even something that happened a couple weeks ago at the Doge protest at the Tesla dealership in Meridian, there was violence, and a counter protester was run over by a...
Madam Mayor, time.
So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you for being here.
Madam Mayor, our next speaker is Marty Yost.
Good evening, and thank you for giving your address.
Yeah.
With your name.
My name is Marty Yost. I'm a pastor of Mountain Heights Calvary Chapel, 1624 East Plaza Loop, Nampa, Idaho. I'm here, first of all, I love Nampa. I grew up, I'm an Eastern Idaho kid, born and raised here, and I've hit home runs in this American Legion ballpark and bounced them in the Lakeview Park many times, and I love this city. I am a pastor, and I am also concerned about this event that's going on June 8th. But I'm also an American. I know that we have great freedoms, and I'm not here to take away anybody's freedoms. But this event has grown quite a bit. I'm someone who's put on several events. I'm aware of the agitators in the Treasure Valley and Canyon County. I've had them at our events numerous times that will be filling this park. Most of the people coming to this event from out of town. And that's fine, let them come from out of town, but let them pour money into our community in a safe environment. I want to just ask that we could have it moved to a different location, at a secure location, maybe something at the Idaho Center where they can have better security. They're going to come with agitators, they always do. I know this, I've lived it, and that brings agitators. It's a danger issue. It's not good for our community that way. It needs to be safe for both, I just say both parties that are involved here, and it's too large for this park. We're gonna have an event in this park, and I asked the police to come and have a presence there. We had someone ask, but we were told that would be too much to just have a booth to hand out some things. So I can't imagine the cost it's gonna be on our Nampa Police Department. So people coming in from out of town for one day cost us money and then leave the state. If they're gonna come in and pour money into the Idaho Center and bring something to the economy that way, where it'll be a safe event where they can have their own security and not cost the taxpayers all that money. Not to mention, we're gonna have issues. Everyone knows that is gonna happen. And I just don't want to see that park turn into that. If our event gets too big, we'll gladly move as well. We'll be there on the 4th. So I understand that. But thank you for your time and appreciate you guys. I know it's hard and we have some disagreements on all this, but I respect your position. You're ordained by God to be here, and you have my support.
Thank you so much.
Madam Mayor, our next speaker is Randy Jackson.
Mayor, while
Yes.
Randy's coming up, I just want a point of clarity that they are required to provide their own security, just so people do know, just for the public. And they are also required to provide funding for 2 police officers and 1 supervisor. Not saying that covers everything, I'm just wanted to put it out there that was confirmed, so.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jangula. Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Randy Jackson, 1715 South Kansas Place here in Nampa. Just an average guy here just to talk. And I haven't hit any home runs here in Nampa, sadly. I wish. All right, so also addressing the Pride event, I did have a couple concerns as well. And some of them have already been addressed, but just thought I would also mention that yes, I'm in agreement with my brothers that as a pastor, we are in a different location, but having that much parking in one space on a Sunday morning is going to be a problem for them. And I'm kind of sad about that. I think that the other thing to concerned about is the pool opening that weekend. And with I know that the organizers are doing something about indecent exposure. And I know we had the law change, but that is when they get to the event, not while they're walking up to it. And there was a lot of people walking up to it even last year. They left their cars and were dressed the way they were. So there's a concern about, these families taking kids to the pool and what are their kids going to see as people are walking past. As far as some other things, I appreciate Councilwoman bringing up the fact that they are required to provide security. That's good to know. My wife and I run a nonprofit event. We do a fun run in Lakeview Park every year. And we were also told that, and when we asked, that police presence was not an option, because we do a fun run around the border of the park. And so our thought was maybe it'd be good to have some police on the border of the park so people don't get run over. And we were fine with that. We understand, providing our own security and stuff like that. But it does seem like when you are providing free security or police for one, then maybe it should be for all. But also the thing is if there is a lot of police presence because of security concerns, especially with that many people, that as was echoed, maybe this isn't the best location for it. Maybe the Idaho Center would be a good place for it to go, or something like that, or at least pay for more than 2 police officers, because I am pretty sure there was more than 2 out there last year. So with that being said, I would actually ask that you guys would consider asking them to move to a different location in the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that concludes our public testimony this evening. Thank you to our citizens that are willing to come forward. Thank you. We always appreciate our public testimony. Due to time's sake, we are going to go ahead and move on to our public hearings. And we will start, public hearing 9-1 has been withdrawn by the applicant. And so that will not need to be done tonight. And just for council's awareness, at the last meeting, we did change our code. We're suggesting a code change, and the applicant would like to work within the new code. So the whole goal with that was that they work within our current code, which they want to do. So that's good news. So 9-2 is the next public hearing. This is an action item. This is the vacation of an existing utility easement that encroaches a portion of the building, 0.5 acres in the Community Business Zoning District located at 16608 Midland Boulevard. This is for Antonio Conte, representing Blaine Jacobson. And the original concept is vacation of the existing utility easement encroaching a section of the building on the southeast end. Is our applicant here this evening? Thank you. Go ahead and come forward and share your name and your address.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Cornell Larson. My address is 3474 West Old Gold Drive in Meridian. I'm here tonight representing the applicant, as Mr. Conte was down at another deal in Nevada, so you got me. And I also have Pat Teeley with me, who was the original engineer on this project. Just kind of a brief overview. The plat for Treasure Valley Marketplace was changed and redone, in 2007. And that was before the building was constructed. And at the time, when we applied for a building permit, we thought that easement was no longer in place because the replatting of Treasure Valley Marketplace. And a building permit was issued. We went ahead and built the building, and it's had tenants in it since then. And the owner applicant at this time, he had decided to lease or sell the building, and he got an offer from a lending institution to buy the building, but then when they did the title search, the easement showed back up again. So we went ahead and made an application to vacate the easement so we could clean up the title on the property. I think we're in support of staff's feeling that they could recommend this vacation. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on it, but that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Thank you for that explanation.
Thank you.
Council, do you have any questions at this time? Seeing none, I will say our process will be that we'll do a staff report, public hearing, then we'll have you come to answer any questions and make closing comments. Okay. So we'll have you back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Damien.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Damien Snodgrass, Associate Planner. Today we have a pretty straightforward request, some cleanup, vacation of a existing utility easement that is currently not in use. Up on the screen, we have the utility easement highlighted in yellow, and as you can see, it goes through the pre-existing building, and the applicant wants this removed for future developments. So some of the property details: it is currently zoned BC, and it is surrounded by other commercially zoned areas. And upon the applicant's request to vacate a portion of this 12-foot easement, just so it can be used, clean up the title, and the utility easement's not currently being used, so it'll be a good cleanup for our end. There was no correspondence on this, no engineering comments, building, or anything of that nature. For the recommended conditions of approval, we have that the owner/applicant will comply with all future city codes and provide all the legal descriptions of what is to be vacated. So for the findings of fact, the first is processing of the vacation request for easements and/or right-of-way shall be executed in accordance with provisions of Idaho State Code. Staff found this to be met. And when the procedures set forth herein have been fulfilled, the City Council may grant the request to vacate such restrictions. Vacating this easement is necessary because the easement is unused and unnecessary. And so this will clean it up for future owners. And here are your potential motions, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions? Councilman Haverfield.
I'm sorry, I forgot your first name already.
Damien.
Damien?
Damien.
Okay, sorry, you're new, I'm not. But I have a senior moment every now and then. In looking at slide 505 in our packet, it appears that where the overview was that you had highlighted in yellow, that was intended to be a utility easement at some point. But I'm just wanting to follow, was the water line placed then on the right side of this slide? It appears that the water line goes alongside the end of the building, and that the sewer potentially terminates on both sides of this in alignment with that yellow stripe that you have going through it. But there are no actual utilities that continue on through the building, is what you're saying.
I'm going to seek some clarity from Daniel.
Yes, that is correct. There are no utilities that actually run within this easement.
Okay. Was there then an easement, utility easement created then on the end of the building, on the east end?
There were utility easements created for the utilities that went in when the building was constructed, yes.
Okay. And so it was platted at that time?
So this easement was created with the, I believe, one of the Treasure Valley Marketplace replats, and then the lot lines were moved, but the easement was not vacated at that time, and it was not caught when the building was constructed. And so it was just an oversight when the building was originally constructed. The easement should have been vacated at that time.
But there is an easement in place now?
There is an easement in place there now that they are requesting vacation. There are also separate easements for the utilities that are there now, beyond what they are requesting to be vacated.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions at this time? Seeing none, thank you. This is a public hearing, and?
Madam Mayor, we have Pat Teely signed up to speak.
Good evening, Pat. Thank you for sharing your name again and your address.
Pat Teely, 6977 Pencross Way in Meridian. And to answer Madam Mayor and the council, to answer Mr. Haverfield's questions, there was never any utilities at all placed in that yellow area. And when we developed the building, we did the civil drawings on it, and we rerouted the drainage, irrigation, and Napa City water line around the building, and we granted easements for all those uses.
Okay. That's what I got from our council.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? I don't believe so.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, we don't have anyone else signed up.
Is there anyone here this evening that had intended to testify on this particular public hearing? Seeing no one, does our applicant have any closing remarks? Or counsel, do you have any questions for our applicant? Okay, we don't have any questions, or maybe we do.
I was just going to say, Cornell and you guys represent a great history in our community, and thank you for your service over the years. And I know it took a lot for you guys to come over here tonight. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have any additional comments at all.
Thank you. So I wish I knew the history that you're referring to. Would you like to take just a second and share your history?
Well, not really. It might just be too boring and too long. But thank you.
Mr. Thiele's been involved in surveying and civil for a long time, and Cornell is, well, you've been involved in so many architectural projects across the valley, so.
Yep.
And so, Councilman Bills, go ahead. You can share what you were saying.
I was just going to say, they're very noted, good reputation individuals throughout the years. I had the pleasure of working with Cornell back in the 80s on a project, and don't think I ever was involved with Mr. Thiele, but he carries a good reputation, and so it's just good. It's a remembrance, walking down memory lane for some of us old dogs sitting here at the bench.
Thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
It's been a good relationship both ways, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
So with that, Mayor, I'd move to close the public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
And is there discussion?
Mayor, I would just like to ask how they retained their hair and David Bills didn't.
I'd like to say it's somehow greater stress than genetics. So with that stress laid out there, I move to approve the vacation of an existing utility easement that's been presented by staff.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Ingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your service. Thank you. Okay, 9.3 is an action item. This is a zoning map amendment from two-family residential to commercial business zoning district and a potential development agreement for 1215 13th Street South and the right-of-way in front of the parcel for a total of .389 acres. This is for Aaron Randall, JGT Architecture, representing Brenda and Oswaldo Rodriguez. And the original concept is to construct and operate a new restaurant. Hi, so you're representing our applicant.
I am representing the applicant, Madam Mayor, City Council. My name is Aaron Randall. I'm with JGT Architecture in Nampa, Idaho. We're at 1135 12th Avenue Road, and we're at 83686.
And former Napa City Council Planning and Zoning Commissioner.
Yes, 12 years on planning and zoning. I served with Councilman Rodriguez, and I also did 3 years with the Design Review Committee. So
thank you.
Yeah,
we got a vote tonight.
Yeah. I'll at least try to keep it brief. How's that sound? So what we're doing right now is we're trying to place a building on this piece of property that is really unusable. It's 35 feet wide, and by the time you throw in some setbacks, you're looking at 25 feet. That's about the width of the property that we have to work with there. And with it being basically you put a duplex on there. That's what it's essentially set up for, but you can't really do that here. It doesn't really work. So instead, we decided to try to put a small neighborhood restaurant there, a little Mexican restaurant. And as you can see from the site plan there, it's 1,100 square feet. It's very tiny. We've got maybe enough people or seats inside for about eight people that can go in there. It's really essentially meant for people to walk up and to purchase something for the neighborhood. It's meant to be an amenity for the neighborhood. Right now, it's just an empty, vacant lot that, while it's kept up, there's a lot of weird things that happen there, at night, things that shouldn't be going on there, and we want to do something good with it. Build it out and make it part of the community, and it'll be something that can separate out the major businesses to the west, like the coffee shop and some of those other places, and make it a little bit of a buffer from the residential on the east side. It's an attractive building. It's not tall. It's only 25 feet tall, so it's very residential. These are the materials that we have. We've got a corrugated metal wainscot down below with vertical hardy board siding. It's got some nice gables. Any of the advertising, it's all going to be away from the residential side. It's all going to be pointing out toward the business area, especially for the 12th Avenue. It's just a weird site. It borders one half of the alley that's on it's between 12th and 13th Avenue. So that's sort of what we're expecting to do, is use that alley as the entry, or at least part of the exiting for it. All the entry into the property will be from the north side there. And as you come into the parking, and then we've even got like a breakaway lane. This is not intended to be a drive-through establishment. This is intended to be park, you pick up your thing, and you go, or you stay and maybe eat a little bit. But it's, like I said, it's really meant to be sort of a walk-up establishment. I know I live in that area. It's like a 15-minute walk from me. I'd go there once a week. So, and then we've got some attractive landscaping on both sides. That's going to help keep any visibility issues down. There's already a fence along the east side, along that residential side. If there needs to be, we can always beef that up to make it a better fence. But we were fine with all conditions of staff during the planning and zoning hearing. So I stand for any questions.
Thank you so much. Council, do you have any questions?
Mayor?
Yes.
Aaron, there's no drive-up window proposed, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
As you know, we'll have you back. Christy?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Christy Watkins. I'm a principal planner for the City of Nampa. The request before you this evening is for a zoning map amendment from RD, which is two-family residential, to BC, which is community business, at 1215 13th Street South for the construction of a restaurant. The property is currently zoned RD, but it is surrounded by BC and RD zoning. So to the north, BC retail. To the south, RD single-family homes. To the east, RD single-family homes. And to the west, BC, more retail and restaurants. The proposed BC zone is a permitted zone under the Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Designation of Commercial. This property is actually in the MDR, which is medium density residential, but we do have a provision on our map that allows that designation to be stretched. So it is adjacent to commercial. It can be stretched. The properties in the area include Odin's Eye Embroidery, Canyon Speech Pathology, John L. Scott Real Estate, Hot Shots Brewing, and Bullock and Company Realtors. And more than that. Those are just the immediately adjacent ones. As far as correspondence, we did receive a couple items. One from Patricia Warren. She is concerned about noise, traffic congestion, late night activity, trash, bright lights into her home, decrease in property values, parking, and character of a quiet residential neighborhood. We received comments today that you should have in front of you. One from Canyon Speech Pathology. They're concerned about parking and their patients' safety. They're already having parking issues with neighboring uses. And then from Eric Pick, he's concerned about the small space and access into the alleyway as a potential conflict, and where will the overflow parking go should they not have enough parking spaces on site. Engineering stated that frontage improvements will be required at the time of construction. Utilities are available to the property, but they do need to coordinate with the neighboring property to reroute and provide easements over existing service lines that cross the lot. So the comprehensive plan defines compatibility, it defines commercial opportunities and how commercial opportunities should have access to major transportation corridors. This is a block away from 12th Avenue South and Roosevelt Avenue, so that commercial use would have access to major transportation corridors. The project will be reviewed under Chapter 16 for the BC zoning standards, and it will be required to go through design review. A restaurant is a permitted use in the BC zoning district. So there are 3 criteria for determining the zoning for a project. Staff finds these 3 criteria to be met. It proposes a zone that is compatible to the comprehensive plan through the stretch of the commercial designation. It proposes uses that are compatible with the commercial uses along 12th Avenue. Development of this property is in the interest of the public and reasonably necessary because it allows for efficient use of existing property. It has city services and utilities available to it. It provides a commercial service to the surrounding neighborhood, and engineering has determined that it does not require a traffic impact study due to the size of the project, and an analysis of the parking layout surmises that traffic will be encouraged to leave and enter the site at an angle that faces away from the concerned residents across 13th Street South. These are the recommended conditions of approval as stated in your staff report. These are your potential motions, and I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Christy. Council, do you have any questions? Yes, Councilman Haverfield.
Couple of quick questions. On this, can you pull up the site plan? There you go. So looking at the site layout, it appears that there is an access to the north that would be a one-way in to use the parking spaces, and then they would pull back out and then use the alley to go south to get back onto Roosevelt. Is that the primary flow onto the property, or would they go around the building as well on the south side? There appears to be an existing power pole there. I was just wondering, will that be relocated and the width of the alley be improved to the full 20 feet?
Thank you, Mayor and Councilman Haverfield. Yes, so you are correct in your assumption. Coming in from 13th Street and traveling south through the lot, there are 2 points of access out into the alley. As far as relocation of power poles, I would have to defer back to Mr. Randall to answer that question.
Okay, so that'd be an Idaho Power issue. I was just wondering because it is a 20-foot wide easement for the alley, but it doesn't appear that the full improvement of 20 feet is proposed. And then the only other question I had is the 2 access points being only 19 feet apart. That's not an issue because of the flow going one way onto the property, and then the alley would be 2-way.
Councilman Haverfield, so in this case, since it's an alley and since it's a low determination of traffic for this use in the 6 parking spaces that are provided, the spacing isn't an issue.
The distances between the entrances.
It would be if it was going out onto 12th.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Christy, one of the comments that was provided to us today in our packet really was talking about the concerns for traffic in the parking lot that is in the adjoining. So I just wanted to clarify, looking at this, the parking spaces have barriers to where they cannot pull forward into the alley. The only access to the alley is it through, and this is following up on what Councilman Haverfield, are there 2 access points to the alley? One is right by, yes, that one, and then the other one, correct. Are those required for what reason that we have both of them? Is that a requirement that we have?
Mayor, it is not necessarily a requirement by staff to do that. That is how they chose to design property, to allow for different ways to get around the building so that they aren't just concentrating it all in one spot.
Okay. And then the alley, as Councilman Haverfield mentioned, is that a 2-way alley? Or is it a one-way alley?
Mayor, I will have Daniel answer that
That's
question.
two.
Mayor, alleys in and of themselves are not one or two-way. An alley, they are allowed to go either direction. They are not of a width typically that two vehicles can pass adjacent to each other. It's, you've got to be paying attention and defer when someone's coming, but that is the standard alley configuration throughout all of Nampa.
The way the parking spaces and the exits lay, it would be difficult to go out of those and take a right.
Absolutely.
It would be very difficult. So it would seem as though it would be a left that you would go out, which would take you out onto Roosevelt.
Correct.
I'm just thinking about mitigating the comments from the adjoining neighbor about the concerns that they have, because from what I'm seeing, those are egresses, they're not ingress. The only way to access this property to go in is off of
13th.
And
Correct.
the only way to access 13th is really from, I'd like to see a bigger picture. How do you get there?
So you can turn in on 13th either on 12th, or you can come off of Roosevelt to get to 13th. So
And go
13th goes about a half block past, so 13th Street goes about a half block past 13th Avenue, which is the next street down from 12th, and then comes out onto Roosevelt as well. So really your main accesses really would be 12th or Roosevelt, and then to the alley to come through the site. That is correct.
Could you point out with your cursor where the access point comes into this property, where 13th is? So it's, which one? It's so hard to tell that by looking at that.
The green blob is a tree.
That's a tree?
Yeah.
Okay, so
the
where's
one
the road?
below that, that's the access into the property. That's 13th right there.
So the road is on the right side of the screen. That's 13th Street.
Okay.
Which would be the north side of the property. This is shifted.
So you can come into 13th from 12th Avenue, okay, or from wherever to come into 13th to go then south into the parking lot. Which means that the people access, I'm just trying to understand based on this comment that was made, if the people going to this location actually would in some way be in conflict with the people in the parking lot in the adjoining properties. It doesn't appear that they would be.
The adjoining properties on the other side of the alley, their parking lot is laid out such that you only come in from 12th. It's angled parking towards the alley. You back out of the parking stall, you go to the alley and exit either left or right.
Okay. Thank you for answering those questions. Yes,
Christy, can we pull that up on Google Maps together so we can see a bigger picture of that? I'm just having a hard time visualizing it off this.
Is that helpful? I can't.
I'll join on the teams and,
Thank you, Daniel.
share my screen.
Madam Mayor, Natalie, if you go to 534.
I'm on it. I just want a bigger, even bigger.
A bigger image?
I just want to see the streets. I'm having a hard time. And then I want to be able to see where that building abuts to these other buildings. That's what I want. Yep, thank you.
So here would be the site. The other parking lot is here. You can see they come in off of 12th, park angled either direction, and then would come out to the alley and exit either direction.
So can you point out where the building itself is going to go?
The building would be down in this area.
Thank you, Daniel.
Question. It would appear to me, Daniel, that we're creating a de facto alley next to the residence.
So there would be a drive aisle adjacent to the residence, yes.
Every time cars are in and out, noise and et cetera. The next question is I can't tell if there's a walk-up, so this may come back to you, Christie, on the design, or Mr. Randall when he's back up. How much walk-up traffic to this restaurant? So parking isn't necessarily going to use the parking that's being proposed, but parking either on 13th or in the parking lot next to the other businesses? Has there been any discussion on that?
Councilman Bills, if it's a very popular restaurant, there might be a lot of traffic. I don't know. It's intended to serve the neighborhood, and it's intended to encourage walk-up traffic. It's a hard question because I don't have any basis to say, hey, this is really great food. It might be really popular.
So from the architectural design, I couldn't tell if there's a walk-up window.
So I believe you have to go inside to order.
Okay.
And there's a few tables inside to sit at. There will also be a few tables seasonally out on the patio right there in the front, but it's minimal.
Mm-hmm. Council, do you have any other questions at this time? Christy, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to public hearing and then we'll be back.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, we have Eric Pick who signed up.
Is Eric here this evening? Is there anyone online?
And Madam Mayor, Eric is one of the individuals that did submit written comments today.
Okay, so he is opposed to it. He's the one that we were reading. Okay, one of the ones that we read. Okay, is there anyone else?
No, there is not.
Is there anyone here this evening that had intended to testify this evening? Yes, good evening.
Mark Mitchell, 12355 Landau Way, Nampa, Idaho. Just the location, is this right behind Swain's Chiropractic and the coffee shop in Bullock?
Yes.
That narrow little a restaurant on that?
That's what's being proposed.
Wow. It seems backwards to me here on this drawing. Would the parking slots not go the other way, or you're going to park into the alley and have to come back out and go into the alley, which is used quite a bit, and it's wide because you have that little coffee shop right there. But you're going to take up some parking spots of the other professional buildings. That's inevitable. That's going to happen. So, no judgment on it. It just seems extremely narrow. Don't know if it would really work there. My 2 cents worth. Oh, and I did it under a minute. Can you believe it?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Is there anyone else here this evening that had intended to testify? Okay, seeing no one, this is an opportunity for our applicant to come back and make some closing remarks and/or ask questions. Answer questions, excuse me.
So, yeah, I understand that that there is an issue with potential parking there. I know that, after all that time on planning and zoning, I don't know how many thousands of complaints about congestion and parking issues I heard over the years, but it's what happens when you have a growing community like this. Currently, we have a piece of property that is not going to be used for anything else, and we're trying to make the best of it here. Again, it's not meant to be a place where there's going to be a lot of drive-up traffic. It's not going to be a lot of parking there. If they do park, I imagine that, that will be sufficient, or even on the street. I know that we were talking about like flow of the traffic into the parking lot. Really, we were trying to be as conscientious about that as anything we did here. Any of the business or any of the houses to the north side, they shouldn't get any lights from any of the vehicles that go in. They'll all start going towards the south. And the way Roosevelt is already off at a 45-degree angle there as they come out, they're already not really facing the houses across the street to the south. And plus, we're going to have landscaping there. It's going to buffer that up to the top. So And the reason that we put that extra access through the alley there, so it wouldn't get congested just coming out of one spot. Now we have two spots, so you're not getting a bunch of headbutting on any of the traffic there. They can also come around to the south side and go out that way. So again, we were really trying to pay attention to that and be as conscientious neighbors as we possibly could. Any of the lighting that we have there in the building, it's there may be one street light or one parking lot light. It's going to be low. It's not like it's going to be it's not like a Walmart light, where it's 40 foot tall, and it's going to be, street level, and it's going to stay on the property as much as possible. So again, it's so it'll be a nice, well-lit area, at least a safer area than it currently is right now. Like I said, I've seen vehicles that have parked there on that property. Who knows what they're doing? Again, we're just trying to make this a little bit safer for the neighborhood. Any other questions?
Mayor?
Yes.
Aaron, a couple of questions for you. The reason for a drive lane or a quasi-second alleyway along the east side of this building, why is that necessary?
It wasn't. It was just we had a 10-foot easement through there, and we thought, well, we'll do something there where we can ease any traffic that would be going into the center of that alley, because that seemed to be where everything is going to go through at that point. And we thought, let's go ahead and throw it around the backside there, and then that'd be a nice little, say, breakaway lane in case things just did get congested for whatever reason.
Have you had Republic Storage look at your trash location?
Yeah, I mean, they were okay with it. I didn't get an actual approval on anything yet because we weren't to that point yet. But they seem to be okay with it in general. So.
Yeah, you don't have enough room as far as for the access up to the enclosure itself. I think it's 50 feet away.
Yeah,
so you'd be on somebody else's property being able to service that orientation.
Well, we're hoping that they can come in a little bit at an angle and grab it that way. So, I mean, like I said, we'll eventually end up working around that one way or the other, but we don't have a whole lot of space for some of this stuff. So I know that was one of the concerns too from one of the letters that we received, was that if it gets bigger, it just can't get bigger. This is as big as it's ever going to get. So there will be no expansion here, at least on this property.
Just general observation then.
Yeah.
You don't really need that road section. It could be landscape, which would be a softer buffer to the people to the east. Traffic coming in off of 13th is going to flow through to those parking spaces on a diagonal. They would have to back out and then hit the alley about mid-length there in front of the building. You could easily accommodate even a wider access there if you wanted it, instead of just 12 feet, I believe you had. Just from a standpoint of softening and then maybe even creating more patio area for the establishment, or even widening the building another 5 feet. You don't have any windows on that side, so you could get by with a different arrangement there, and then you can rotate your trash enclosure accordingly. But I think that just from a standpoint of being a good neighbor, it'd be nice to have a tree or two along that side of the building just to soften the exposure and the potential noise that might come from people sitting on the patio.
Yeah, I mean, that is an idea. I know we didn't want to put any extra seating down there just because, again, it's, we're already kind of set with the amount of parking that we have, and we didn't want to go beyond that.
Just from creating an impervious surface instead of creating a grass area that you can distribute your stormwater into,
sure,
makes more sense to me than having it all paved or having rooftop. So there isn't a whole lot of landscape area for you to send your stormwater to.
Yeah, and again, we don't anticipate there being a lot of stormwater for such a small footprint, so.
I have two questions for you. Yeah. What are your hours of operation proposed?
What was it?
It's 11 to 8 p.m.
11
to 8. A.m. to 8 p.m.
And then what days were we going to be closed? It was Sunday, Monday?
Sunday, Monday.
Sunday, Monday will be the closed
Closed
days.
on Sunday, Monday? Okay, and then did you host any community meetings? Did you meet with the neighbors?
We did. We met, the people that were there, they were favorable. I know we talked with the property owner on the east side, the closest house. They were in favor of it. I know we talked with the Odin's Eye at the embroidery place. He was completely in favor of it. So the people that showed up, they were in favor of it. So.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Council, do you have any other questions?
Well, Mayor, Mr. Randall, the communication that we've received has been negative.
Sure.
And so, don't know about the neighbors being supportive.
Right.
Did you consider an 8-foot block wall along the fence line?
We did not. I mean, that doesn't mean it isn't an available option. So, again, like I said, we're open to staff ideas. So.
It's interesting because I think that the comments that we've received that are opposed to it are actually the professional business. Am I correct on that? That is to the west.
And of course, that's just today. It's the
Rather
first time
than the
we saw any
residential.
of it, yeah, so.
Okay.
And I just found out about it. I was in Twin all day today, so I didn't find out about it until about a half hour before our meeting, so.
But our packet has the neighbors.
It has the neighbors that are, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And
And the one neighbor that was really upset about it, she was the gal that was directly to the north. And when I talked with planning and zoning there, I explained to them also that any of the lights are going to be facing south of her. They're not going to be facing into her domicile, so she shouldn't be affected at all.
Any other questions from council? Okay, any other closing remarks?
I look forward to a positive review. Thank you.
Thank you. I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. This is
Mayor,
an
I'd make a
opportunity
motion.
for
Yeah.
council discussion.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. You can be, yes, we'll wait for you. Is there any council discussion? I think we have a motion pending here.
Mayor. I think it's a creative use, design concept. I kind of like the thought. The circulation pattern makes sense except for the road, or the second alley going along the east side of the building around the south side doesn't make sense to me, when that could be a landscape area that can contain stormwater, because stormwater has to go somewhere. It can't just stay on the surface. So I'd give it a 90 out of 100 potential, but I'm not sure that I can support it at this point without having a little bit more vegetation along that east side of the building, which could easily be accommodated, and there's no reason for that second circulation lane back to the alley, in my personal opinion.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Mayor Kling,
Yes.
I'm looking at the neighborhood meeting sign-in sheet. It doesn't say opposed or approve. It's just about 7 people, other than the one letter we got today. So I don't know, David, where you're reading that they didn't want it. I don't see that.
It's in the packet.
Okay,
It was discussion about lights. It's discussion about already the lights from the parking lot.
Yes.
Further to the west, shines into the person's house.
yes, I
page are
get
you
that.
on?
I have that letter.
I-30
Okay.
Yeah.
is the neighborhood part, and then there's letters attached somewhere further down. I didn't see any correspondence that talked positive. And I've only seen correspondence that is not for the project. And my concern is to have an existing fence and put commercial right, a few feet with traffic, cars going by, and whether the business is operating, they can still drive through there. Kind of seems like it's really weighing in on two property owners. And potentially, well, 3, I guess, and then potentially others. So it's I like the exuberance, but right now, I'm not in support, so I'll wait for being able to make a motion, if that's,
Is there any?
Mayor?
Yes.
I didn't think to submit this to the record because I received this email back in February, but for transparency purposes, I did, and I don't know if any other council members did. So Shar, I apologize, I didn't submit this, but I got an email back in February 25th of this year from the PICS, who also wrote to us just last week, or earlier for the packet, but do I need to read this email that they?
Yes, and if you have a copy of it, you can share. If your decision will be based or
It is not
influenced
the
by it, then it needs to be part of the record.
Okay, so I'll just read it really quick. It is not exactly the same. So it just says, I would like to express my concerns over the approval of the Tiny Mexican Restaurant. As much as I am a fan of people starting new businesses and the building new opportunities, my concerns are with the location that there will not be any good traffic flow between the clients coming in and to not only our practice, but the chiropractic, acupuncture, and the speech therapy practices. They already have concerns with customers from the coffee shop that drive the wrong way down the road of the parking lot. The speech therapy has children with special needs and needs to have places to park. With the restaurant going in and them having limited parking, we are worried that there's going to be an overflow into our parking lot where those patrons to the restaurant would have their cars towed at their expenses. We will be getting the rest of our business owners around to expressing our concerns and emailing you guys consistently on this and hope that you guys vote no on the location of this restaurant.
Who is this from?
Eric and Vanya Pick.
Okay.
The same
I thought you
individual
said-
on your.
Yes, I thought you said the Pix, like the Pix Theater. I was like, okay,
It says
interesting.
in last name. So just want to put that out there.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Okay. Councilman Reynolds, do you have a comment?
Madam Mayor, I was
Yes.
just following up on this letter that we had, this comment from Eric Pick, and it said that he's indifferent. He wants to see small business succeed. So I don't understand, he must be a part owner or owner of this building that's in this parking lot? Anybody know that?
No, Mr. Pick is just the owner of one of the businesses in that building. That building is owned by someone who lives out of state, the entire building.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor, I move to deny the zoning map amendment from RD to BC zoning district for 1215 13th Street, South Parcel 1594 2000 as presented by staff.
Second.
I'll second the motion with a comment that I'd like to see it come back with modifications, but it's up to the applicant.
Okay, it's been moved and there is a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
No.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
No.
Griffin.
No.
Everfield.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, there's a tie.
So the motion is to deny. Thank you for that. This is a difficult one because I really appreciate small business. And the thing that I ponder is our food trucks. This is a great transition for a food truck into a small building. So I think that's why we have a split council on this. It makes it very difficult to figure it out. There is a challenge, though, and that is the way it's laid out and the impact that it has on the adjoining neighbors. And I think Councilman Rodriguez has some good comments. I have a question on the design side. So what we're talking about is the way it's laid out in the design, right? And so if you, either way, I think could be a parking issue. But if they took away the drive aisle, like Councilman Rodriguez mentioned, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm looking at you, but I'm saying Rodriguez. I know you didn't. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I guess I have a question. Councilman Haverfield suggested some changes. Is this one that we can have them come back? Rather than denying it tonight, can we have them come back with modifications to where they're not fully denied and have to start again to where we could consider the modifications, or is it a approval or denial?
Mayor, that 10-foot setback is the commercial setback from a residential zoned property. So they have to keep that 10 feet. They can't shift the building.
And it's only 10 feet?
Only 10 feet. Well, the drive aisle is 10 feet.
Is 10
There's
feet.
probably a little bit extra space there, but the drive aisle measures at 10 feet. So if you wanted to put a condition on it that they landscape that area, that's certainly within your ability to put a condition on it, and then we would review it accordingly. They still have to keep that 10 feet, but it doesn't have to be a drive aisle.
Well, we have a motion, Mayor, and you're at a decision point. We're now lobbying. And so the applicant can come back with a fully modified plan, taking the comments accordingly, or this can be approved as it's been submitted. But I think there's definitely a need for modifications.
Okay.
And whether it's modified or a new application,
Possibly a new application.
that's the question. I think we're in the lobby mode.
Yeah.
I'm not coming as aggressive on the lobbying mode. I'm just curious if we can't add these as conditions of a development agreement with the idea. I know we want to be able to have that final say, so maybe it does need to come back as a full modification, but I think the limited amount of space to apply the development agreement terms, there's not really much room for them to change or go outside of the scope of exactly what we're explicitly asking for them to sign to on their development agreement.
I think you said it well. There's not much room.
So with that comment, I think I'm going to support the denial and ask that you come back with a modification to see if you can fit it in there, but in a modified perspective. So unfortunately, we can't do the, I know. So, yeah.
So, Madam Mayor, is that a no? Or is that, that's a...
The motion was to deny.
Deny, and that's a yes.
That would be a yes.
Okay.
To deny, asking for modifications to come back. Because I think what I'm hearing is it's hard to say if it can be modified to where it would work. But anyway, rather than lobbying from up here.
Mayor?
Yes?
So a question for, just thinking on behalf of the applicant, they have to submit a completely new application with new renderings and design and go through the whole process once again?
Yes, and that's why I was asking, is it something that we can postpone the decision and let them come back? Sometimes in a public hearing, they can come back with modifications and we can go through it again so that they don't have the expense of starting from scratch. But what I think I understood was we can't do that. Is that correct? Because I'm happy to have them come back with modifications for us to reconsider with modifications. I don't know what legally we have to do.
Stab at it, Rodney.
So, yes, generally you'd be able to ask them to come back so they don't have to go through the whole A to Z application and with the pay any required, any amount. Here you have a motion to deny and to break a tie. I think another avenue you could pursue is the development agreement, and that you'd be able to negotiate those extra terms into it if they were willing to do so. And if there was a disagreement about the terms, at that point, they could try to maybe appeal it in that time period. But it's a tough position you're in. If you were to pass this, Mayor, they would have to come back A to Z, starting right over.
Right. So there are times that we have, if I said, voted no, then this motion would fail. We could come back and ask them to postpone this decision to a future date and come back with modifications to this particular application. Are we allowed to do that?
Yes.
And then we could look at the modifications to this application without starting from scratch and having them go through that expense again. Is that correct?
If you were to go that route, they would have modifications that the public would need to be aware of. And so you'd have to go through the required notice period, and those revised documents would need to be submitted so the public would have an opportunity to evaluate and provide their comment.
Okay.
So it would push it out.
But it is the cost of it going all over again, correct?
That's a little tricky. We would cover that cost if there's not a new application. The department would have to cover the cost of republishing that information out to the general public. I don't know if there's a way for us to just charge an extra fee to cover the cost of republishing and sending out notices to everyone again. Perhaps we could do that.
I think that would be a reasonable fee, directly responsive to the vote tonight, to get to a final determination or final decision. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so what I think I'm understanding from what you're saying is that if the applicant so chose, they could, well, it's at the will of the council, because we are split on this, to give them an opportunity to come back. They could bear the cost of the re-notification, but we would look at it one more time, considering the changes that we have suggested take place, and then meeting again with the neighbors to ensure that they've mitigated those challenges.
Mayor, just for clarification, because I think we're all in our position camps right now of where our votes are at. If they came back and modified and showed no more drive aisle but changed into the landscaping and the reposition of the garbage cans, would that sway other votes, or are we going to kick them down the road saying these are the modifications we're looking for? They come back and we still have a 3-3 split. That's more of a discussion. I don't know logistically where we're at in the voting process, but I think this could be resolved with a condition of a development agreement that the drive aisle be removed and landscaped and the trash can be repositioned. I think that takes care of at least one council member. I think the lot's going to be too small no matter how we modify it for other council members, respectfully. So that's just, I'm trying to hear out loud rather than put them through the rat race.
Well, Mayor, out loud, there should be an 8-foot block wall that separates commercial from residential when you got residential 5 feet from the property line, which they were afforded to years ago. And now we're going to put drive aisle next door to them. How many of us wants to lay down at night and hear cars? And we can say it's stopping at 8 o'clock. People are still going to use the drive aisle as a cut. Here we are debating an issue, and it hasn't been clearly thought through, and there's people who have written against it. And I think Councilman Haverfield's putting landscaping there. So now where's the drive aisle? It's the alley. Now we're going to pull in off the alley for parking. And up and down 12th Avenue, both sides, how many businesses use the alleys and then some don't use the alleys? And it's very difficult. And then we have people who are already established there and they don't maintain their parking lot rules as it is. And we're adding to it. It's a tough deal. We'd love to have the business. We'd love to have the economic activity. Unfortunately, for me, it's a very difficult situation from the standpoint of trying to put something in such a small space.
So,
I mean, we asked for 25 feet setbacks on residential issues that we go, oh, this is going to cause a problem. Oh, we need 35 feet. And here we are putting this zero lot line.
I agree with Councilman Bills.
And here we're debating the whole issue.
You know, we had the opportunity to have Randall back up here, and we closed the public hearing so we could get a modification. And we're here talking amongst ourselves, and they said, no, they're going, yeah, we'll do what we can. Well, he can't come up and talk. Now we're going to sit him all the way back through the process? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it does.
Let's do it the easy way.
We can't reopen the public, if there is a motion to reopen the public hearing.
Well, she would have to you would have to vote. Your vote was already, so we're in this
I did
voting
vote.
issue.
to go ahead and deny, that was my vote. And so, and that motion is carried, and then we've continued, and with that, so the fact that I voted to go ahead and deny and supporting the motion, I guess the question would be, then if you'd like to come back with modifications, you could come back with modifications, but I think you've heard the council discussion about this. So with that, I
Mayor?
think you would have to come back.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just want to be very clear here. With the denial vote, they're going to have to start over. I just want to make sure that's very clear to
And
everybody.
that's why I was asking the questions that I asked, so I had clarity in which direction I would go on that, because my understanding is either way, they're going to have to go back and renotice it. Either way, they're going to have to go back and renotice it, because, yeah.
Madam Mayor, some of my thoughts, I thought your vote was still pending and it wasn't finalized, but you're stating here that you had made a decision to deny.
I had said I had said this is where the direction I'm going to go, but I had a question about it. I mean, I could have reversed it at that moment, but I had a question about it.
Okay. Yeah, if that's the case, to Rodney's point, that vote is final, and we'll go through the normal process of notifying the applicant, and they have to restart the process.
Mhm. I'm sorry for that. I think there's some real consideration on how tight that space is. It is a very, very tight space. And I hate to have you go through the cost. Either way, there would be a cost to come back and redesign and come back and renotice it. So. And I believe we would have to do that anyway. If we renotice, if we change the design, it would have to go back through the process.
Mayor, I think the question was directed at me.
Yes.
Mayor, because it was a no vote or a denial vote, yes, it would have to go back to planning and zoning. If it had been a yes vote and then you had another motion to continue this to another or defer the decision, then they would only come back to city council with their appropriate changes, as long as they're not significant changes. That's where code is a little bit flexible, but if they're not significant changes, then you could just come back to city council.
Mayor Kling.
Mayor, if I may.
Rodney, why, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Councilman Rodriguez, Mayor.
Thank you. Why can't they just do a reconsideration?
Mayor and city council, that is absolutely something that could happen. We were just discussing that a minute ago, yes.
Okay.
And candidly, I hate to say that from the bench, but I would recommend that you do a reconsideration. If you would like to come back and change your format, a reconsideration is something that there's a change, so that would be an option to you. And it just needs to be filed in the next 14 days, is that correct? I wouldn't take it to the end.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Correct.
It would have to be a letter outlining all the reasons why this should be reconsidered and submitted to the city clerk within 14 days.
Another piece of clarification, if I could, Mayor. How significant can he has his reasonings why it should be reconsidered. Can he make any modifications at that point, or is it reconsidered where it's at as it lies?
Yeah, good question. Not one that comes up often. Reconsideration does allow the applicant to address concerns raised in the public hearing and provide opportunity to how they would perhaps mitigate those. And that could be material to the decision. Now, if they come through and totally change the concept and spirit of it, that's one thing. But to address concerns noted here, reconsideration would be, it does envision that. And it's 14 days from the final decision. Sorry, from this one, right?
So Councilman Bills is asking for clarification.
So, pressing clarification on that modification. So, the applicant tonight presented a drawing with a drive aisle along the neighboring properties, using the 10-foot easement as a usable space. Comments have been made that that should be landscaped. It would seem that eliminating that drive aisle and doing something else is a substantial change, not just a modification based on what was presented for information. So
Yeah.
I need clarification then whether just coming back with a design change slips under the rules, so to speak.
Yeah, what this will be reviewed as is the nature of the application. If they were to, this were to come back as, for example, multifamily, the nature inherently is change of the underlying use. Modifications for aspects around that don't necessarily alter the nature of it, but maybe the mechanics of how that use would operate. And so a reconsideration would allow for the nature of the use to stay in place with some modifications addressing noted concerns here tonight. But if the nature of the application were to be changed in reconsideration, that wouldn't be a basis to reconsider.
Okay, and a follow-up is that before council, I believe last meeting, we had a project that was asked for 10, 12 years ago and went into litigation for a great deal of time involving the use of an alley for access to the property. And I don't remember the details other than the applicant said a couple of weeks ago that they went up and down to the Supreme Court over it. And they were back before us with a new layout to get the business in finally. How does that going to square up in what was there from a legal point of view, and this one, trying to make use of an alley and setting improvements into the easement? I'm just trying to look at, I feel like we're headed down the same path that this city has litigated before, using alleys and the difficulty of such.
Yeah.
So,
No, Madam Mayor, Councilman Bills, the concern is noted and appreciated. The facts of that case, obviously, in this one are distinct, and the issues that were at play there, without going into great detail, my understanding of that other case was there was concern about the action of a mayor, if it was ministerial and binding or not, and if they could undo that decision. Here, for reconsideration, staff would have an opportunity to review any proposed changes, including legal. And so there can be, it extends the decision-making period, and all planning angles and legal angles would be considered, and staff can advise city council in preparation for the decision on that. So we'd be here to answer any other questions specific to a reconsideration that they file.
Just for another piece of clarification, if this would have been a drive-through restaurant and we were eliminating the drive-through aspect of the drive-through restaurant, would that even be significant enough of a change, or because it's still a restaurant and remaining a restaurant's a restaurant and what their original application was for?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Griffin, the question's noted. Again, can you explain the relevance to this? I'd be happy to address. Is there a point maybe you want to make?
I think my point is of encouragement that the comments have been heard by the applicant today. Maybe a nice 8-foot tall wall and a landscape drive aisle, not significantly changing the fact that it's still a restaurant. It was never a drive-through, so the drive aisle is not necessarily a significant change, might be helpful, is my point. And I'll stop talking.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm sorry. I need to just jump in here quickly. This is a rezone. This was a rezone request. So we will still need to adopt formal findings of denial. We think we've heard some of those comments. We will craft those with our attorney and bring those back to this body for approval of formal findings of denial. And then at that point, we will submit the decision letter or the written statement to the applicant, and at that point is when the 14-day starts.
Thank you for the clarity. So hopefully, I think you've got, hopefully, all of this, a lot of discussion, and there is a path, if you so choose to take it, for reconsideration. So, okay, thank you very much. Okay, we are ready to move on to 9.4. This is an action item. It's a zoning map amendment from suburban residential to single-family residential, RS4. And a preliminary plat for Sunshine Meadows subdivision. This is a 6.36 acre parcel and a potential development agreement for 1426 Chicago Street. This is for Ardura Engineers representing, I'm going to get this name incorrect, so I'm going to let you share your name when you come forward, the owner. It's a residential development to include 28 single-family homes and 11 common lots. Who is our applicant this evening? Thank you. I'll let you share your name. And I'm so sorry. Good evening.
Good evening. So hello, my name is Pratik Parekh. My address is 1326 Northeast 87th Avenue, Hillsboro, Oregon, 97006. I'm here to request a rezoning and preliminary plat approval for Sunshine Meadows, and I'm the owner of the property. So the project is located in the northeast corner of Chicago Street and Iowa Avenue near Greenhurst Elementary School. The property is zoned RA, and we're requesting it to be rezoned to RS4. The comprehensive plan for this area calls for medium-density residential. In 2008, the city approved a plat for 64 townhomes with the RD zoning and annexation. However, the builder went bankrupt during the 2008 financial crisis, and the property was resold. The previous owner canceled the development agreement and rezoned it to RA to save money on taxes. So as you can see right now, the Elijah drain runs diagonally, splitting the property and making the development more difficult. The property is currently classified as 6.36 acres, but it was classified as 7.72 acres before being annexed into the city. We ended up losing areas in the right-of-ways along Chicago Street and especially Iowa, where we must build the connection through as part of the development agreement. The northeast portion is roughly 0.97 acres, the drain takes up 1.17 acres, and the area south of the drain is 4.22 acres. The northeast portion has an access easement of 15 feet, which allows us to build only 2 homes as per the city code. Even if we had a larger access and tried to fit more homes, we would need to have a fire truck turnaround, which would be very difficult given the sharp triangular shape of the lot. So we can only fit 2 homes in that section. And to make sure that we can use that easement for development, I consulted with a land use attorney. Okay. So given that this parcel was approved for 64 townhomes, last year we proposed a townhome development with 47 townhomes with the RD zoning, which passed the planning and zoning hearing, but it wasn't approved by the council with the given reason that townhomes are not compatible with the area. So based on your feedback, we are back with the proposal of single-family homes with the RS4 zoning. The number of lots has been reduced from 47 townhomes to 26 single-family homes south of the drain. And Councilman Bill had mentioned that the RS4 zoning was created for infill projects like these that had drains running through them to allow for smaller lot sizes while getting comparable density to RS6 or RS7. So if this parcel didn't have the drain, we could have even fit up to 32 lots. So that's why we're asking for RS4. If we have to do 6,000 square foot lots, we can only fit 17. So it'll be a very small project. So during the hearing, the council also did like a rough calculation and thought that we could fit 41 homes with RS4. But as you can see, 28 in total is the best we can do right now. And the neighbors also mentioned that they would be supportive of 20-something single-family homes, but not townhomes. Okay. So the subdivision is planned to have a total of 28 homes with a gross density of 4.4 units per acre. The open space is 15.5%. Lots south of the drain range from 4,000 square feet to 5,022 square feet, with most being closer to 4,000 square feet. The 2 lots on the north side are approximately half-acre each. The landscape plan includes lots of trees, shrubs, and open grass areas throughout the development, with monument signs at the entrances of both Chicago and Iowa. There's a 10-foot pathway with a 20-foot easement that will run along the Elijah Drain. There's a meandering path around the property which completes the walking loop. There's also a covered picnic area near the drain. Okay. The drain in this region feels like a creek with lots of existing trees, so having the walking path along it creates the feeling of a nice green belt. The meandering path around the property with the new planted trees will connect to it, making a nice walking loop. The covered picnic area is also placed near the drain to create a nice relaxing spot with running water. We also have a few benches placed throughout the property. The Stoddard pathway is also nearby, and the school has a large playground with basketball courts for kids. Okay, and these are the elevation for the homes. So we'll be constructing the remaining portion of Iowa, and it will have curb, gutter, and sidewalk on the north section of the newly built road. The city does not have plans to make this connection. They're relying on the developer to fund this connection. This connection will help with emergency service response times, and the fire chief was very supportive of this connection. We are also widening the roads and improving the sections along Chicago and Iowa with curb, gutter, sidewalk, and landscape buffering. Here are the street details. The local street will have a 44-foot right-of-way with a 30-foot wide road section with a 5-foot attached sidewalk. Okay. So 3 of the homes will face Iowa, and in the pre-application meeting with the staff, we made sure that this was allowed, as Chicago and Iowa are classified as local roadways. These 3 homes, along with the green spaces next to them, will keep an open residential feel in the neighborhood instead of having something that's closed off behind some fences. This will flow a lot better to what's already there, as Iowa is a very residential street with homes facing it in this area. So for the corner home, we were asked to make sure that there's enough distance from the intersection to the driveway. So the minimum requirement is 40 feet, but as you can see, we'll be at 50 feet. So we're more than meeting that requirement. Okay, so in conclusion, we've considered the feedback from the city council and the neighbors on how to gain approval, and we're presenting a plan that will benefit both the developer and the Nampa community. Thank you.
Boy, thank you so much. And with 16 seconds to go, good job.
Thank you.
That was great. Council, do you have any questions at this time?
Mayor, I do. In regard to the open space, all that green open space is in the southern portion of the property, correct? On Elijah Drain, you're not including anything north of that?
So obviously the drain itself is not included, but the walking path is, because we do have to maintain it, as the HOA will have to maintain it.
That stays below, south of the drain?
Yes.
You're not calculating anything separated from the major
nothing
development?
on the north, yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions right now? Okay, as you know, the staff will come up, they'll do their presentation, we'll do public hearing, then we'll have you back to answer any questions that come up in the process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. As stated, the request before you this evening is for rezoning from RA to RS4 for the Sunshine Meadows subdivision at 1426 Chicago Street. This property is RA currently. It is RS6 to the north, south, and east, and to the west is county. We have had discussions with that property owner, and he's waiting to see what you decide tonight. As far as a history on this property, in 2007, it was annexed and zoned to RD with a development agreement for 4plexes. In 2008, the development agreement was modified to be townhomes. In 2011, the property was rezoned from RD to RA, and it eliminated the development agreement associated with it. In 2024, it was denied by City Council for the RD zoning with attached unit townhouses and has been recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission just this last February for the RS4 zoning and this proposed use. The RS4 zoning is a permitted zone under the Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map designation of medium-density residential. The homes built in this development will match the area in standard building construction, pitched roofs, garages, and yard areas with trees and landscaping. The uses that are in the area within a mile of the proposed development include Nampa School District property that used to be Greenhurst Elementary, many single-family residential medium-density subdivisions, and multiple fourplex developments that are within the city limits, as well as a variety of commercial uses on Greenhurst Road and Southside Boulevard. The comprehensive plan defines compatibility, residential areas, and infill. All of these guiding principles outlined in the comprehensive plan are found by staff to be met by this project. The property is located in a medium-density residential area on the future land use map, and it proposes RS4, which does match that designation. Any of the development or the building, any of those will be held to the Chapter 8 RS zoning district standards for setbacks and other improvements. So a minimum of 4,000 square feet and a maximum of 8,000 square feet is required for this zone. The lot sizes in this development range from 4,001 square feet to 5,220 square feet, with the exception of the two larger outlying lots that measure at 20,979 square feet and 21,234 square feet. They will be asking for an exception to the lot sizes for those two lots. Master lot width shall measure or equal greater than 30 feet. The smallest lot width is proposed at 31. The lot depth shall measure or be equal or greater to 50 feet. The smallest lot depth is proposed at 79 feet. The number of buildable residential lots equals 28, which creates a gross density of 4.4 dwelling units per acre, which does fall within the 2.5 to 8 dwelling units per acre range that is within the medium density residential designation. A landscape plan has been reviewed and approved by the city forester. There is 15% open space required. They have provided 0.98 acres, which is 15.5% of the gross project area, a picnic area, and a walking path along the Elijah Drain, as he outlined in his presentation. A traffic impact study is not required for this project. Frontage improvements will be required along Chicago and Iowa. The city will explore acquiring right-of-way on Iowa and will coordinate the required improvements during the final design of the project. So there are two exception requests. The first exception request is for lot compatibility. We do have code that states that properties that are adjacent to larger lots shall be either 80% of that overall square footage up to the maximum of 8,000 square feet for the zone. As you'll note on this picture, it is adjacent to a property that is 20,037 square feet. The three lots that are adjacent measure at 4414 and 4163, and then the one just to the north is a common lot. So there's a couple different things that they can do. You can certainly grant this exception if you feel it's appropriate. That is your option. Some other options might be to make that into two lots, where one is 8,000 square feet and meets code, and the other one is just extending the common area. So they would lose a lot in that case. Another option might be to readjust across the board and see if they can get an 8,000 square foot lot there and move the lots around to keep the number of lots that they have. We would have to have a revised preliminary plat for that to happen. So three options there. Like I said, you can certainly grant this exception to city code if you'd like, and they can move forward from here. Exception number 2, due to the shape of the property and the topographical challenges created by the irrigation easement on the Elijah Drain, staff concurs with the assessment and recommends approval of exception number 2, which is the two large lots that measure over 20,000 square feet. So for zoning, there are 3 criteria that need to be found to be met. The first one is that the project proposes a zone that is compatible with the adjoining district, or is compatible with the current comprehensive plan, which this is in the medium density residential. That the project proposes uses that are compatible with adjoining property uses, all single-family homes completely surrounding the property. And the third one, the development of this property is in the interest of the public and reasonably necessary because it has a subdivision layout that complies with adopted city codes. It has city services available to it, and traffic infrastructure improvements are required to be made. This property is also considered to be infill with unique topographical challenges and proposes a use and a zone that is compatible with surrounding uses. This is the correspondence that was received. As of May 2nd, we received an open case from Code Compliance for weeds and debris, so I have added that to a list of correspondence here. The building department requires compliance with building regulations. The police department has stated that it recommends a commitment to fund .09 officers and .05 support staff. The fire department states that it is approximately 1.5 miles from fire station number 2 with an approximate response time of 4 minutes. And it would create a demand for .08 firefighter positions. It will collect impact fees on 28 single-family homes that will generate $43,876 for the fire district. CenturyLink has stated that there might be a potential conflict along Chicago Street with their utilities and that the developer will be responsible for relocating those. And the Parks Department has requested a 20-foot wide easement along the Elijah Drain for the pathway. And engineering has listed utility and right-of-way improvements and has a list of conditions of approval. So with the conditions of approval, I added the code compliance issues that were stated on May 2nd to the list of conditions of approval. We may also need to add a revised preliminary plat to this, depending on what your decision is tonight. These are the potential motions. As stated, you can read the blue. It will also need to include either both exemption requests or one exception request plus a condition to show how you're going to make it comply with code. So there's a couple different things happening here. It's a little more complex than just reading it right off the screen. So I will stand for any questions.
Question, Mayor?
Thank you. Yes, Councilman Haverfield?
Christie, the 2 lots that are north of the Elijah Drain, is there a reason why a third lot couldn't be carved out instead of just 2? Can 3 lots be off of that short lane without an issue?
Mayor and Councilman Haverfield, I think as he stated with that 15-foot access point and having to have a fire turnaround, it would be difficult to have more lots in there and be able to still configure a driveway that would be acceptable for fire.
That's his preference then, not to have a third?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know. You'd have to ask him how he might lay that driveway out, but there still has to be a way for fire to get in there.
Yeah. Well, I can see a path for that, but again, if that's not a willingness that he has, then it's just, I can ask him that later then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have a question, Mayor. So one thing I've been really very concerned with is the cost regarding construction, the cost regarding the what the city has to come up with in order to accomplish this task of this project. So, and I don't know who's going to answer this, maybe Mr. Racine here. I'd like to know what will the amount of cost for the city for construction, material, infrastructure, equipment, and police staff that the city will have to fund in order to this project to be connected. There you go.
I will defer to finance.
And he was paying attention.
He was paying attention.
I don't think, there are, what, 28 lots in this subdivision? The last calculation we put together on an estimate for 300 lots was a fairly, like $240,000 of revenue and about $300,000 of cost, just public safety costs. So this would be in order of a tenth of that. maybe 25,000 in revenue and 30,000 in public safety cost. That's just off the top of my head. But as far as the remainder of the cost related to infrastructure, that I couldn't speak to.
Okay, so you're saying revenue, are you referring to?
Well, you get property taxes.
Oh,
I'm
I
not
see,
talking,
I see.
this is just limited to property taxes and just limited to the cost related to the safety. There obviously would be impact fees, and there obviously would be other costs related to it that I don't have an analysis for right now.
Well, I'm just wondering, Doug, that in order for us to start approving some of these projects, that we have a countdown of critical cost to the city for these projects. And I don't know how you're going to do that. I'm just wondering out loud, because we're talking about fire, we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about police, we're talking about materials, all that stuff. I think we need to know that before.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it's a comprehensive issue we would have to address in a separate meeting entirely to try and understand what the cost would be, because if you're talking about fire, obviously there's a fire district. If you're talking about revenues and how impact fees are used, that's one aspect. If you're talking about potential income taxes, that's a state impact. So we'd have to get together and say, what are the cost parameters and what are the revenue parameters you want to discuss? And that would be a fairly complex issue. We could probably find an approximation for that. We probably should. I don't have any. I think anytime we can find a way to get more information, we should try that route.
I'm just thinking about that, Mayor.
Thank you. We have two comments in response to that.
Oh, okay.
I've got Councilman Bills and also, Daniel Badger. I said Daniel Badger. Sorry, Daniel.
So this type of project is a total infill with all public services around the property. And this is what the original RS4 ordinance was designed to encourage, taking those infill properties out of the county into the city with services already sitting in front of the property. And so from a costing point of view, this is, while there may be an issue with House Bill 389 type, but from a city point of view, this is a win-win because all the infrastructure is sitting there. And doesn't require basically anything other than what the developer is going to put in. And so there will be income with very little actual impact because the roads are already there and being used by the other neighborhoods. The issue that the applicant reminded us was they were encouraged previously to go for RD and higher density, and council denied that and encouraged them to come back with the RS compatibility. RS4, under the mitigation of that drain, which used to be in the ordinance, modified when the RS4 zoning was modified. And again, this fits every basic detail. And as far as the exceptions, because of compatibility next door, my recollection, there was the allowance for some of that incompatibility in order to get land out of the county, unusable, and into the city. So I just see that this change up that the applicant's gone through is totally what council was looking for council in 2024.
Well, David, I understand, and I agree with you. Yes, I do. I just think that I needed to have a better list of costs. If there are no costs to the city, great. If we can proceed with this project, sure.
So I tell you,
this is a win-win for the city.
No, I get it. I just want a document that says this is going to be the city's cost. If there's no cost, good. That's what we want to hear.
The reason I'm pausing, I'm reminded by our clerk, and I appreciate it, that we're not into deliberation.
Right.
We're into the very beginning of our discussion, which is a presentation by staff to present the project. So we'll leave the deliberation out, and we'll go back to, and then Daniel,
Mayor, Councilman Bills addressed the infrastructure side of it very well.
Mayor?
Thank you. As long as it's a question for Christie. Thank you.
Just Christie, not Doug.
Well, yeah.
It's not a deliberation.
Thank
It's
you.
just, I have a question for you, and then I'll have a question for you. From what I heard, and this wasn't what I planned to ask, but Councilman Rodriguez did spark the query for me. Are you saying that the revenues are less than the expenses ongoing for police?
Without going into deep details, I think we've shown that because of the impacts of legislation, we're not collecting every dollar that we should on new construction. And we need a little more work. I've got information from Steve Onfray, but we are probably not collecting enough to cover every single cost, but I think we need a better detail of that. But that does not mean, I need to be careful, that does not mean you say no to growth, because there's this balance between when you're getting enough money to cover aspects of growth that you might be worse off not taking it, even though you're not getting every single dollar you could. But that's a bigger topic for a later time.
Thank you. You mentioned the exception. Was it one of the ones proposed here stating that they remove one lot and have it be the 8,000 square foot lot and an increase of the common area space? Is that the main exception proposed, or is that something that we have to discuss and have a part of the development agreement?
Councilman Griffin, the request for the exception is to just leave it as you see here and just allow for those lots to be below that compatibility requirement in code. And that's totally fine. If you want to approve this exception request, that's fine. That is within your purview to do that. There are a couple different options that they might look at, which would require a revised preliminary plat, which can be a condition of approval. And it would be to either make the common lot bigger and have an 8,000 square foot lot here, which would lose one lot, or to kind of readjust on the whole down the street to try to get the 8,000 square foot lot at this corner. They could do either of those two things. So if you're...
I apologize to cut you off. Yep. When you say they, do we just say yes to exception one and then this is done, we're approving it as is, but if we want to look into the other alternatives, as somebody favoring the 8,000, removing one lot and having a bigger common lot, so how would I go about that path?
What my recommendation would be, if you're willing to approve exception request number 2, you would make the motion with the approval of exception request number 2 and an additional condition of approval to provide a revised preliminary plat that meets the compatibility code on this corner of the property.
So it wouldn't be exception 1, it would be exception 2.
Can you show exception 2 on the screen so we can look at what we're talking about?
Yes, exception 2 are the 2 larger lots on the northeast corner that have the 15-foot access into them.
So now I'm confused again. Exception 1 is where I would need to modify and say we're going to have one lot removed and make it an 8,000 square foot lot, correct, on exception 1. Exception 2 is going to be its own separate issue.
Correct.
Okay.
So exception number 2, staff would recommend that you go ahead and approve this exception.
This is.
Yes.
Exception 1's the one where there's options.
Exception 1 has options. You can either approve it as it is, as the exception, or it's no longer an exception. It's a condition of approval to provide a revised preliminary plat.
That does not have to come back to us. It would just be a part of the development agreement.
That's correct, because
Thank
it
you.
would be something they'd have to check off that list.
Appreciate it.
Okay, sorry about going back to 2. I thought you were saying something about tying them together, so, okay. Did you get the answer to your question? Thank you.
I know this is very confusing. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I think we were at the question time for Christie. Are there any further questions for Christie? Christie, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a public hearing, and is there anyone here?
Madam Mayor, no one has requested to provide public testimony.
Okay. Is there anyone here that had intended to testify on this particular matter this evening? Okay, seeing none, this is an opportunity for the applicant to come back and provide response to discussion and questions that have come forward, and then we'll see if there are any additional questions for you. Thank you.
So regarding the exception, can you please bring up the presentation again? Yes. Okay, so as you can see in this picture here, the reason those lots are so large is because it includes half the drain and the easement in the drain. So when the original development was made, the developer probably just made those lots large to not deal with the drain and all that stuff. So that's why those lots are so large. The other point, as you can see, next to his backyard, we have the open space, so he doesn't feel like his homes are looking into his backyard. And we also have like very large mature trees for privacy. And his side yard is very, very large. It's like 25 feet wide, and then those homes will have like a 35-foot backyard. So the back of the homes to that side of the house will be like 55 to 60 feet apart. And then also, as you can see, that side of the house has no windows. So we're not really, infringing on his privacy. And there's very large trees, as you can see from that satellite image. So we want to ask for the exception because of that. Otherwise, we have to redo the whole design, and it's taken like 2.5 years to get to here. So I hope it doesn't, become an even longer process.
Thank you. Thank you for answering those questions. Council, do you have any further questions right now for our applicant?
Mayor, I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say thank you for listening to council and coming back with a much better project. I'm very satisfied with the changes that you've made, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Do you have anything you'd like to say before we close out public testimony?
Just, I guess, if you guys have any reservations on the exceptions, I would like to address those, before you close the hearing, yeah.
Good idea. Good idea. You've been listening. Yes, that was such a wise comment. Council, do we have any discussion regarding these exceptions? Are we good? That was great.
Yeah.
I think there's no other questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, if there's no further discussion, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye. Mayor,
Okay. Yes.
Trying to stay with the discussion part before a motion. Again, I just want to reiterate, this is an infill project. There's all services sitting there. This finally provides for some access to Greenhurst Elementary School area and continuity on the traffic pattern. And it is an infill. There's really little impact to the city. This is really a win-gain for the city, despite House Bill 389. This is what we want to see, is finally getting some county property in, and from somebody who's willing to move forward on it. And so there's no neighbor opposition here. They've worked hard to mitigate the issues. So from my side, I think we should be approving this as submitted, is my comments on it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, you're welcome to make a motion.
I'd make a motion then that we approve the project as stated on the screen, and we approve the 2 exceptions that were presented and as given tonight.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Christy, did we cover it as we needed to for the exceptions?
That was perfect. Thank you, Mayor.
Good job. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Hammerfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
No.
Ingula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
5 in favor, 1 opposed, motion carries.
Thank you for all the work to redo this and to bring it back. I know it's been costly and it's been a lot of work. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, you know what? We're to 9:05, but we have some unfinished business. We have not taken a bathroom break. And I had promised we would do that at 7, and it is now 8:15. I think that we're going to take a break.
I couldn't help it.
Okay, so break for 5 minutes, bathroom break, and then we'll be back. Sorry, Dad. We're missing one, but let's go ahead and we're going to move forward with 9.5 on the agenda. This is an action item. This is the public hearing to approve the proposed FY25 second budget amendment. Doug, thank you for walking us through this.
You're welcome. Mayor and council, let me share this first so you have, we're speaking to the same topic here. Let's make that a bit larger. Okay, Mayor and Council, what we have is the second amendment for the fiscal 25 budget. This is comprised primarily of budget rollovers from the FY24 budget, so projects that were budgeted and approved in FY24, but not done and being rolled over into 25, plus a degree of new spending from other areas that I will go through. The total amount of the amendment for this version is $11,013,000. Out of that, $6,407,468 is from rollovers in prior years, and $4,606,191 is for new spending, and I'll go through the major items. And if I break that down a little more, we look at General Gov, the amount of the amendment from General Gov, which is funding that would be related to property taxes and sales taxes and so forth, is a very small amount of about $67,000, with the department fund balance and impact fees and rollover funds amounting for $10 million, $269,099, and then just a little bit coming from brand new revenues of $676,000. Now, depending upon the council's will, I think we don't need to go through too much of the rollovers that were approved in the prior year, but I can point out that the largest amounts are in impact fees, and that's about $2,226,000 from the Midway Aura Brandt carry forwards from FY24, and other capital projects, mainly facilities capital. Let's see, streets impact fees are $928,000 from Northside, Karcher, Kings Victory, and then about $1,190,000 from other capital projects, generally facilities and other general gov projects that are rollover of police cars, airport facilities, and other capital rollovers from FY24. It's important to note that all of these capital projects will still come before you again for approval prior to moving forward with them individually, so you have the chance to review them. This is getting it into the budgetary capacity so that it facilitates the public hearings as you move forward on those items. In the new spending, we have a couple of items here that are of note. The streets has $1,025,460 for a master plan update. The Davis rebuild, the Elijah drain, et cetera, that will be that $1 million. And then we have the irrigation annual pipeline replacement. They had some priorities they wanted to put on this to spend from, that's actually really a fund balance where they're bringing irrigation in, so that's not technically new revenues, but it is a new project that was not budgeted in '24, but it will be spent from fund balance and not new revenues. And then included also in here are a couple of grants. There's one for $173,000 for streets related to the VRT, Robinson and Greenhurst, and then the AWAS federal equipment, or the equipment grant of $427,500. Are there any specific questions on any of these items you'd like me to go through, Council?
Sorry, I didn't have my mic on. I'm looking, I'm not seeing any.
Okay.
At this time, Council, do you have any questions for Doug? Okay. Does that conclude?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, well, just stay put. So this is a public hearing.
Madam Mayor, no one has signed up for public testimony.
Okay. Is there anyone here this evening that would like to testify? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. Council, do you have any closing comments, Doug? Because we'll close.
No, I'd like to remind the council about the budget amendment process. We try in the first part of the year to bring forward mainly roll forwards. And when departments come to me or to the finance department with requests for amendments, the first question is, can your existing budgetary authority absorb this? And that's what we try to do first. If the answer is no, or if it's a brand new spend that needs council approval, or if it's a brand new grant that has, even if it's only $10,000, then we bring it forward to council. But we do try to make the amendment process effective and efficient by not adding too much to the bottom line in terms of renewing budgets from prior years. But sometimes we just have to do that, and that's the case here with the $6 million of rollovers. And that's
It's a
essentially
little tricky. We're
Yeah.
trying to not have them, but then sometimes it can go one of two ways. That you
Exactly.
budget for it, you don't do the work, or you don't budget for it and you have to do an amendment and hand it in. Either way, we end up with them, but
Exactly.
we're trying to really budget tight and make sure that we're not putting in full budget capacity for projects that we know that are not going to get done. So
Exactly.
then hence we don't have so many rollovers.
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
Yes, I do have a couple of questions. So on the FGC Client Services Federal Grant, there's $15,671.
Right.
The street federal grant, $173,000. And the airport federal grants, $427,500. What is our contingency plan should those go away by DOGE?
In these particular grants, they are not going to go away. They're very secure grants.
Oh, are they?
But what we're doing in the FY26 budget process is being very cautious on what we put in from grants, and probably more so than in past years about what we'll have as a new grant.
Okay, that's all I had, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. If there are no further comments, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, what is the will of council on this?
Madam Mayor, I move that we pass the budget amendment as presented.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call?
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Jingula?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
The next action item is actually the reading of ordinance. This is the first reading of ordinance, and it is adopting this second budget amendment, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, amending the appropriations ordinance for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025, appropriating additional monies that are to be received by the City of Nampa, Idaho, and providing an effective date.
Madam Mayor, I move this pass under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Jingula?
Yes.
Haverfield? Griffin? Bills?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
That concludes our public hearings this evening. We do have a number of unfinished business items. There are a number of ordinances to pass, one resolution. So with that, we are going to begin with item 10.1 on the agenda. This is an action item. This is the second reading of ordinance for a zoning map amendment from RS-15, single-family residential, to BC Community Business Zoning District, and a potential development agreement for .66 acres at 2925 East Greenhurst Road. It is requested to be passed under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, determining that certain lands commonly known as 2925 East Greenhurst Road, parcel number R26439, located in the southeast 1/4 of Section 2, Township to north, Range to west, Boise Meridian, totaling 0.66 acres more or less, lay contiguous to the limits of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, State of Idaho. and that said land should be annexed into the city of Nampa and be zoned BC community business on 0.66 acres more or less, declaring said lands by proper legal description as described below to be a part of the city of Nampa, determining that said annexation and zoning has a consent of landowners, it is contiguous to the city limits, and it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Directing the city engineer and the planning and zoning director to add said properties to the official zoning maps of the city of Nampa and to designate said properties as BC community business as set forth herein on the official zoning map and other area maps of the city. Providing for conditions of approval, providing for recordation, subject to the terms of that certain development agreement between the applicant and the city, providing for severability, providing an effective date, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict herewith, and directing the city clerk to file a certified copy of the ordinance and the map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, State of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63-215.
I have a quick comment, and that is that I failed to finish reading the last thing on this action item and who it was for the applicant of Miguel Victorio. And it is requested to pass under suspension of rules or will be moved to third reading.
Madam Mayor, I move this pass under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Hammerfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 10.2 is an action item, and this is a resolution, so it will not be the reading of an ordinance, but it's to authorize the mayor to sign a resolution for the comprehensive plan map amendment from medium-density residential to residential mixed-use land use designation for the entire area that is currently designated as MDR, medium-density residential, from Lakeview Park to Indian Creek, and from the alley center line just east of 11th Avenue North to the alley just west of 15th Avenue North for Randy Haverfield Architectural Northwest, representing Benito and Angelita Martinez.
So moved.
Mayor, I'll be abstaining from the vote.
Okay. There is a motion.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
No.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 10.3 on the agenda is an action item. This is the first reading of ordinance for a zoning map amendment from two-family residential to neighborhood business zoning district and a potential development agreement for 605 13th Avenue North. This is a 0.32 acre parcel for Randy Haverfield Architectural Northwest, representing Benito Angelita Martinez.
Mayor, again, I'll be abstaining.
Thank you, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, determining that certain lands commonly known as 605 13th Avenue North, parcel number R08584, located in the northwest one-fourth of Section 23, Township 3 North, Range 2 West, Boise Meridian, totaling 0.32 acres more or less, is currently zoned RD, two-family residential, in the limits of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, State of Idaho, and that said land should be rezoned BN, Neighborhood Business Zoning District, on 0.32 acres more or less, declaring said lands by proper legal description as described below to be a part of the City of Nampa, determining that said rezoning is in the best interest of the public and consistent with the comprehensive plan, directing the city engineer and the planning and zoning director to add said property to the official zoning maps to the City of Nampa, and to designate said property as BN neighborhood business on the official zoning map and other area maps of the city, providing for conditions of approval, providing for recordation, providing severability, providing an effective date, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict herewith, and directing the city clerk to file a certified copy of the ordinance and the map of the area to be rezoned with Canyon County, State of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63-215.
Mayor, I make a motion to pass under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
No.
Bills.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Motion carries.
10.4 is an action item. It's the first reading of ordinance for annexation and zoning to light industrial and a potential development agreement for a 0.89 acre parcel at 97 North Kings Road for Brandon and Crystal Hatter. It is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, determining that certain lands commonly known as 97 North Kings Road, North Side Boulevard, parcel number R14285553, located southeast 1/4 of Section 23, Township 3 North, Range 2 West, Boise Meridian, totaling 0.89 acres more or less, more particularly described in Exhibit A, lay contiguous to the limits of the city of Napa, Canyon County, state of Idaho, and that said land should be annexed into the city of Napa and be zoned IL Light Industrial on 0.89 acres more or less, declaring said lands by proper legal description as described below to be a part of the city of Napa. Determining that said annexation and zoning is in the best interest of the public and consistent with the comprehensive plan, directing the city engineer and the planning and zoning director to add said properties to the official zoning maps of the city of Napa and designate said properties as IL Light Industrial on the official zoning map and other area maps of the city, providing for conditions of approval, providing for recordation, providing for severability, providing an effective date, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict herewith, and directing the city clerk to file a certified copy of the ordinance and the map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, state of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63-215.
Mayor, make a motion to pass under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin. Reynolds. Angula.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
10.5 is an action item. This is the first reading of ordinance for annexation and zoning to light industrial and a potential development agreement for a 2.36 acre parcel at 76 North Happy Valley Road in the abutting right-of-way on North Happy Valley Road for Blake Wolf, representing Myra Beltran Felix. And it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
In order to the City of Napa, Idaho, determining that certain lands commonly known as 76 North Happy Valley Road, parcel number R21631, located in the southwest 1/4 of Section 19, Township 3 North, Range 1 West, Boise Meridian, totaling 2.36 acres more or less, lay contiguous to the limits of the City of Napa, Canyon County, state of Idaho, and that said land should be annexed into the City of Napa and be zoned IL Light Industrial on 2.36 acres more or less, declaring said lands by proper legal description as described below to be a part of the city of Napa, determining that said annexation and zoning has a consent of landowners and it is contiguous to the city limits and it is consistent with the comprehensive plan, directing the city engineer and the planning and zoning director to add said properties to the official zoning maps of the city of Napa and to designate said properties as IL Light Industrial as set forth herein on the official zoning map and other area maps of the city, providing for conditions of approval, providing for recordation, providing for severability, providing an effective date, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict herewith, and directing the city clerk to file a certified copy of the ordinance and the map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, state of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63-215.
Mayor, I make a motion to pass under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin. Reynolds.
Yes.
Angula.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
That concludes our regular council agenda, but I would stand for a motion to continue our executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061D and F.
So moved.
Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin. Yes. Angula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you.